Hi guys, welcome to the Dad Bub Show. I'm one of your hosts, Ken Blofeld, and Brendo and I, we interview dads all over the world to find out their secrets on balancing how to be a high-performing dad and a high performer in life too. So without further ado, let's get into the show. Hi guys, welcome to the Dad Bub Show. My name is Ken Blofeld, and today Brendo and I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing a good friend of mine, Bill Walsh from Objection Box. Now, let me give you a quick breakdown of this gun. Bill has been in business for many, many years, and like all the greatest, started in the fitness industry, just like Brendo and myself. Now, that is until COVID came around and railroaded him into a position of desperation. Now, Bill was drowning and didn't know where to turn. Bill's businesses literally went from a consistent no stress months to, in a matter of days, $0 in predicted revenue. And if that doesn't sound scary enough, lockdown happened for Bill at the end of March, and he had a baby due 5 weeks later. As you can imagine, this was manic panic mode for Bill. He was concerned for his current daughter, his child on the way, and how he was going to afford the coming expenses due just around the corner. But, of course, as many fathers do, alright, Bill had a drive driven to do whatever it takes to provide for his family. So Bill turned to whatever he could to make this happen. And he knew he was only good at one thing at this present point of time, and that was coaching. But for him to be able to coach people online, he knew he had to learn the skills of sales. So he went to work and invested heavily into pouring into his savings and his faith and his hope, and with the right training, he was able to soar. Cut to the chase, Bill's bub came and they were born, and Bill is working his ass off online, and to his testament, he was killing it. But he quickly noticed that people around him haven't been able to get the same success that he had. So being the coach he is, on one Sunday, Bill was sitting at the spa with his pencil and pad. He retraced his steps on how he had got to where he is today, and specifically, how quickly he did it. Bill came to the realization that there were many things missing in traditional sales training programs, and what Bill specialized in was unpacking things and creating a system or a box for his clients to become amazing. And now he created his, groundbreaking, industry famous training system called the Objection Box system. Literally built at a spa with nothing but a graphite onto paper on what the sales pros or the gurus aren't giving their clients. Yes, they received terrific information, but no execution. So Bill said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. So span all across that, all right? Bill lives off 3 mantras. Build your level of skill so you can support your family, so you can support your future, so you can support yourself. Now, if you're anything like me, I know we're going to unpack a whole heap of shit in this conversation with Bill. It's going to be groundbreaking. That's a big, whopping intro for Bill. But Bill, Mr. Walsh, sir, welcome to the party. How are you today?
Jesus, I'm blown away by that. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Pleasure.
You've obviously done some homework, which I love to see when people are prepared. No, brilliant to have me here, guys. I appreciate you turning up, and thank you very much.
So, Bill, you just got one of Ken's famous epic intros, which was just short of 3 minutes. So that's definitely going to be the opening chapter of one of our books. So all of that aside, give us the 411. So how did all this come about so quickly after COVID to jump straight into business just before having your second baby?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was in New York visiting some friends. I think it was like the start of March. And the news was breaking. It was like this great big COVID. And I was like, what the fuck is COVID? What's this coronavirus thing? And everyone was like, you got to get back. You got to get back. And I was like, get back for what? Like, what are we doing? Like, what's the panic? And next month I got back and we went back to work. And on the 24th or 25th of March, our PM jumped on the station and was like, yeah, everyone stays at home for the next 2 weeks and we'll reassess. That 2 weeks turned into nearly 2 years. You know what I mean? And as you say, I had India. She was born on the 5th of May. You just do the maths on that. So the 25th of March, we were told to go home and stay there. The 5th of May, she was born. And what happened in the middle of that probably changed my life, my kids' life, my grandkids' life for the rest of eternity, as they say, because it allows me to do what I do today. It allows me to invest heavily into everything that we need in terms of properties and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind from that day.
Yeah, man. So we were speaking off screen earlier, and you were telling me about, obviously your daughter being born and all those types of things, but surely during this process, your mindset must have come about as something really, really important. Like, talk to me, like, being a world leader like yourself, like, I know you're aspiring, I know you're growing and you're developing your Objection Box system, but it's really something that you've now crafted and you've got out to a lot of people, then they're getting some fantastic results. So how important do you feel at this time during COVID, when everything was against you, literally everything, the world was against you, they're telling you to stay home, they're telling you, give up your gym, it's not going to happen. How do you kind of fight against that? And how do you feel that your mindset might be really, really important for the modern man and the modern dad?
Yeah, I think it's very important across the board of anything. I look at kids today in this day and age, and I was literally only talking to a friend yesterday about, like, the strength that you need to live in this world these days. The strength that you need internally to have that, that mindset, that never give up, that kind of conviction to actually keep pushing things forward. And I always look back to military, because I spent 4.5 years in military. I've always looked back on things and took great strength from them. I suppose the biggest thing for me was I've never, ever, ever thought like everybody else. Whereas 95% of the people in the UK at that time were just told to go home, and everyone in their opinion was, let's have a jolly. Let's get beers in. Let's get the pool up. Everybody 2 weeks holiday. I was like, that's not me. I don't do that. I've never done that. I'll have my holidays when I deserve them. Well, I looked at the bigger picture. I was like, I got a baby in 6 weeks, 5 weeks, guys. Like, I've no income coming in. Yes, there was help coming down the road, but that was 6 months. Tomorrow I need money. Tomorrow I have kids to pay for. I got a partner to pay for. She's 8 months pregnant. I'm like, I need to lock in here, so I've always looked at different ways, and I've always kind of been, acted differently and taught differently, and mindset has always been different than the own, even to a kid, and I look back and being a kid, I used to wear different shoes than everybody else. I got ridiculed and slagged, and I have ginger hair, and I was always big, and I was always strong. I always went across the different side of things. I've always done it differently. So it's been forever the last number of years.
So, Bill, this is the first time we've met. So, just to get a little bit of context, prior to COVID and the Objection Box, what did you do? So Ken mentioned that you're part of the fitness industry and that you ran a gym. So, can you give me a bit of scope into that?
Yeah, for sure. So I left school at 17 years of age, and I got a scholarship to go to sport or to go to college, which is unheard of in Ireland. You know what I mean? You get a scholarship to go, and they look after you, they pay for you, and all that kind of stuff. I spent 2 months in there, and I signed up for the military on that. So I didn't. It's funny actually, because I left college before I was able to get into the clubs.
Yep.
So I was 17 years of age, going away, living away from home, and I was actually too young to get into the clubs with everybody else that was in college. That's how young I was, and that's how quick I move. When I make a decision, I'm done. Like, it's done. The bridge is burnt. We're gone. So when I went into military, there was an embargo in Ireland because we just come out of a recession in 2008, 2009. So everything got shut down. The financial crash happened. So Ireland got really, really clapped about because we overspent and over digested in terms of properties and stuff like that. So everything just got shut down. And there was 40 places opened up in the whole of Ireland. Now there's 5 million people in Ireland now. 10,000 people applied for these 40 spots, and I was one of the 40. So I've always been able to go against the grain. I've always had that kind of killer in me. You know what I mean? So I got one of the spots, spent 4.5 years in military, learned a tremendous about myself, learned a tremendous about what it takes to kind of really develop as a person and leader, and, really what that hard work will get you. I came to London then at 21 years of age, and I had 2 numbers in my phone. Grace, who was my partner, and her dad, Mickey. And I built the business out of that. I built the business out of those 2 numbers, and just to let you know, none of those 2 numbers have ever paid me for any session. So how I just built it out of that, it was just pure and utter grit and determination. Spent 7 years, about 5-6 years then doing that, and then COVID happened, and it just all got wiped out. Most people would swallow it and be like, oh my God, oh my God, the world is against me, and blah, 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 and I've spent 6 years building this, and, and now it's gone, and all this kind of stuff. I was like, okay, doors shut, bridges burned, move on. Let's go. Next thing. That's just always been the way.
That's so good, and that kind of leads me into where I wanted to go next, which is, so through this process and having to pivot and make that fast change, so how did your family motivate you, support you, and drive you to do these things so quickly, especially at a highly stressful time?
Yeah, I come from a place where hard work is hard work, and I mean hard work. So we have a pub in Ireland. We have it with over 100 years. My mum has run it with nearly 30, 40 years of our life. So we've always kind of had that endless drive to be really, really good. And she's running an established business for nearly 30 plus years. And I don't know any of you that have a business. Do any of you know anyone that has a business with 30 plus years of pure service based?
No.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Town of 10,000 people. So just to give you context, you're not dealing with people coming in and out that you don't know. These are people that you have to be in business with, you have to connect with, you have to have a good relationship with for 30 plus years. So that's where I come from. That's the kind of stock that I'm in. So I've always kind of had that. So I've always had that kind of real, I suppose, support network around me that, you can do things and you can push the dial. And I suppose I have two brothers, and my two brothers are very set in their ways. They're very set 9-to-5 jobs. They're very set in who they are as people. They've got, my older brother got 2 kids. My twin is actually in Sydney. Likes the other side of life. He likes to party. He likes to go out. He likes to go and do great things. He works. Whereas for me, I've always just had that desire to kind of really be the best. Always, and I'll never be the best.
At partying, probably not, right? Your brother probably beats you at being the best at partying, right?
Right. And there's always something that you're not good enough at. You know what I mean? But I always looked at it and I always think to myself, if I can go to bed every night knowing that I've given all that I can give, then what's left? So I've always had that kind of support around me, which has been good.
Yeah, it's so good, and it sounds like that you were brought up, obviously, in a way where hard work was really input into, and you've really taken that. So Ken and I have both been, me and me, just 12 months into this dad game at the moment. You've got a bit more under your belt. So tell us, how do you see about it, or how do you live the mantra of showing up in the best that you can in all areas of your life, and that's being a dad, being a partner, and being a business owner as well?
It's very hard. There's no sugarcoating that. It's a very hard fucking thing to do. There's a very hard, process of going from business owner to partner to dad.
Fuck, I was hoping it would be. I was hoping it'd be so easy.
No, it's not easy. But then you also have to understand that you got to be Ken, you got to be Brendo, you got to be Bill as well. Everyone wants to forget about that. And everyone wants to just put labels on people. You got to actually have to look after yourself as well. So it isn't easy. It's hard. But it's humbling. I always say to Grace all the time, I can pull through a 50K deal, $50,000 or £50,000 could land in the bank, and you think you're God's gift to the world of sales. And more often than not, people will think you are. I walk out this office, my little girl is running around with a nappy around her ankles. She's Daddy, I need to change my nappy. And before you know it, you're humbled back into dad mode. And I think for me, it's so great for me at the moment. I got one who's 8 and I got another who's 2. So we have 2 different avenues in terms of, I suppose, hormones and energy levels and connection and, navigating those relationships. But I think being a dad and being a partner and, having great businesses, it definitely humbles you, going from one place to another. Because when you come out of here and the door hits shut and you got nappies flying and you got bottles here and everywhere and you're reading bedtime stories, it doesn't take too long to get you back to ground, I tell you that.
Well, I can tell you, I've got a baby crying in another room right now who's trying to avoid bedtime, so I totally got you there.
I had my little one, was in the car, and I'm trying to do a VSL at the moment. And we both know how difficult VSLs are and trying to sound different than everybody else. And my little one is looking up, because I got a French patio here that looks out into my drive. And she's looking up at me because I was standing and she was looking out at me. She's screaming, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. I'm like, does she not know what I'm doing? No, she gives absolutely sweet FA to what you're doing. She just wants you to look down and wave at her. So it humbles you massively. Yeah.
So Bill, like, take us back to this famous Sunday, right? It was a Sunday. You're at the spa. You're sitting in the spa. You're thinking about these things in terms of where you've come over this period of time, and you take a pencil and a piece of paper, and you're writing these things down, and what didn't work, and what did work, and what things are lacking and missing. And then 2 days later, with no funnel, no marketing, no ads, just your word, your guarantee, you had 20 members, and then you had 50 members. A few weeks after that. And so with that, you built a multiple 6-figure per month recurring business model in a very short period of time. So short for anyone, it's a few days, if not a few weeks. So what are the things that, new dads or even dads who want to become business owners, what are the things that they need to consider to replicate the thing that you just did there?
Yeah, I think for me, what I look at and I always refer back to is the skill level. Skill is going to pay your bills. I always say that to people. And the more I learned, the more I earned. I always bring that back to all my students. Like the more you learn, the more you develop, the more you put into yourself, the more you're just going to earn anyway. So I've never been one to, steer away from that development standpoint. So that's the key thing for me. The first thing is always the development aspect and the skill. Second thing then that it's really, there's 3 R's that I always tell people. There's your relationships, there's your results, and there's your reputation. If 3 of those things are rock solid, then you can build fucking anything in this world. You need a small team of absolute killers with you who want to do big shit with you. And you can take on the world, in my opinion.
So who are the people with you that help you take on the world?
Yeah, so I got a guy over in Panama. His name is Juan, who, funny enough, not only do you get to sell great services and products, but you get to sell great people. Juan messaged me after I put out a post. He said, "Hey, Bill, so this is how it works." He said, "Hey, Bill, I need to speak to you." Now, as you can imagine, in sales, when someone gives you that kind of message, you're like, shit, I'm in trouble. It's a little bit different than saying, "Hey, Bill, would you have a moment? I need to connect with you in regards to something." That gets pushed. But when someone says to you, "Hey, Bill, I need to speak to you," you're like, shit, what did I do? Or what did I say? Or what did I end up saying to this person or that person? Or how the fuck did I fuck this up? What did I do? So straight away, he sold me on the idea of giving him a call. I gave him a call straight away and he was like, "Hey, Bill, I want to work with you for free. I want to build great shit with you. I want to work with you and I want to get you to where you believe you can get to and where I believe you can get to." So that's one. And then I got another guy, Adam, who is going to be one of my head coaches. I've done tremendous stuff with Adam over the last couple of months, built him from where he was to where he is now. He went from a setter to, he can easily close all deals, every deal. So he's our sales guy. But phenomenal coach as well. Comes from coaching businesses himself and got wiped out with COVID too and ended up in sales. So he's got a great IQ as well as Juan. And then we've got Charlie over in the Philippines who does all the graphics. That's what I mean. You don't need hundreds of people. That's what we have at this moment in time. We've literally over the last week built the funnel. So we've done tremendous and the boys have done tremendous in the last couple of weeks. And I don't see any reason why it's going to slow down with those kind of people around me. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with them. Thank God. And they're really, really good people as well to work with. That's a key.
Yeah, and it's so good, especially with technology and just being able to work with people around the world and have that small team, but they can be anywhere and you could be changing lives, across the world within your team too. So for people, for men, obviously it's Dad Bub, and we've got a lot of first-time or young dads who listen to the podcast. So what would you say is the most important thing that parents who are new to the game to prepare their children for this abundant or growth mindset for the future? So like what you have, and obviously you are quite different, how do you go about preparing your kids?
How will I prepare my kids, or how would I prepare your kids? Because they're going to be two different things.
Your kids.
My kids, yeah. So a big thing for me is I want my kids to fail. A big thing for me is I want my kids to suck at things. And people might hear that and say, "Oh my God, why would you want your kids to fail? Why would you want your kids to not be the best of the best?" Because if they're the best of the best, then I don't think they're challenging themselves enough. You know what I mean? If I don't think they're challenging themselves enough, they're not going to have the emotional standpoint and the emotional IQ to be able to go through the difficulties of life. So for me, they will get a tremendous amount of love from me, their mum, their family, their network. But as a dad, and what I've learned from my life is that you need challenges. You need to suck. You need to be humbled. You need to have people not happy with you. You need to have people give out to you. You need to be in a position where everything just doesn't fall into place. Now, my kids are very fortunate now. They want for nothing. They need for nothing. They want a fucking pony. They get a pony. Do you know what I mean? I didn't come from that world where everything is at your doorstep. So it's a very challenging thing. And I listened to Grant an awful lot because I just like his business IQ. And he was having a conversation with somebody, and he was like spoiled kids and stuff like that. And he said there's always a trade-off. You know, there's always a trade-off with everything. Yes, you can fly them around the world on jets, but there has to be a trade-off to who they are as a person as well. You know, so you have to have the good and the bad of everything. So that's something that I want them to have.
For those of you who don't know who Bill's talking about, that's Grant Cardone. He takes his kids on his private jet all around the world, puts them on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. But, you know, I listen to Grant as well, and Elena and Grant have a very similar construct with this. They still give their children allowances. If their children can't afford it, they can't buy it. So it's quite a good mindset. But of course, daddy and mummy can buy them whatever they want, and they still do. But if the children want something, it's like, cool, well, do you have the money? Do you do this? Do you do that? And, you know, they find ways for them to make the money so they can afford the things, which is a great, in my opinion, philosophy to raise your children with. So, you know, you're obviously, you know, entrepreneurial, Bill, and you're trying to foster these amazing things in your children. Obviously, you want them to fail so that they're, you know, pushing themselves to challenge themselves to obviously do better things. So how are you going to foster that, though, in your children? Like, you know, are you going to, you know, if they're like, Daddy, let's go for a running race, and you go for a running race and you just absolutely destroy them so they have no, you know, willpower anymore? Or how do you kind of balance that act?
Because that won't help.
Yeah.
That won't help. You know, if they're too afraid to even try, then they're never going to try. And if they know before they even try that they're going to fail, then nobody in this green earth will ever do anything. So in my opinion, you gotta put kids against kids. There's no point me going out and bringing my kids on a basketball court and bashing them around the place. It's not going to do anything for their self-belief or their own confidence. So just to give you an argument's sake, my little girl wanted to do karate. Straight away, I'm like, I will pay everything and anything. I don't really care about that. I just want you to do two things. Number one, you got to try it. And number two, you got to commit. I'll pay for it if you commit. So they got to try it first, and then they got to commit on the back end. And I mean commitment. I don't mean like do it when I'm okay. I mean do it when you're tired. Do it when you're shitty. Do it when you just come back from school. Do it when you actually don't want to do it. That's commitment to me, because that's what it takes. How often do you get up in the morning and say, "Oh, I want to do a 15-hour day today"? You don't. Not everyone does, you know, and you don't do a Monday all the way to next Monday. You know, there's days when you're up and down and in and out, but you just do it on a consistent basis, which ultimately gets you the result. So that's what I want for my kids. I want them to do everything. And before they know it, they're going to find out different avenues of where they're really, really good at. So my little girl is a very creative little girl. And I mean, she likes colors and coloring, and she likes playing with that type of stuff. Whereas my little girl, my baby, she's just a complete brute. So she's going to be very good at sport. And they're completely different people. But how do you give them enough support and energy and encouragement to keep trying the things that they want to do? And we're constantly evolving. We're constantly trying to get better at that. And I don't have it all figured out. I'll never say I do. But I think what we have as a partnership between me and our mum is that we have the rough and the good. I'll be very direct and straight and honest, and I think kids need that. And then they have their mum who will jump in front of a train for them every different day. You know what I mean? So we've two different ways, but you know, nowhere's right or no one's wrong. I'm sure Ken has a different way of raising his kids, and I'm sure his wife has a different way than Ken does, and I'm sure you're going to be the same, Brendo. So we're all different. But as long as I always say to Grace, if we have in the back end of it all love and respect for each one of our family, then I think we'll be okay in the end.
So I've got two more questions to finish up on. So one of them you just brought up then, and it's more curiosity. So you mentioned a 15-hour day and, people not wanting to do it but still turning up. So my question is, if you're pulling these days and you obviously built something of scale so rapidly, how do you separate or how do you block your time so you can do the work that you need to do and still turn up as a dad?
Let me ask you a question. What does that mean to you, turning up as a dad? No, I'm gonna tell you on it. So you tell me, what is that to you then, and then I'll give you my answer.
So for me, I have different, different, let's call them buckets. And so for me, that would be I train. So that's a priority, which I do first thing in the morning. Then I get time with my daughter in the morning where I take care of my wife. Then I work. My work period's from 8 till 4. Then I get time with my daughter, dinner time, bedtime. Then as soon as she's in bed, then that's the rest of my time to get any extra work done. So I try and block it there. But when I have that time with my daughter, I'm not on my phone. I'm not looking at laptop. I'm not taking calls, that sort of stuff. That's just my time for her. So that's that's how I block it.
For me, there's two things. I think there's quantity and there's quality. I could spend 5 hours with my kids. You know what I mean? But I think as dads as well, we have this concept of we have to do everything. We have this idea of I got to be there to change the nappies, but I also got to be there to pay for everything. I got to be there to support my wife and what she wants to do and help her build her own element and, help her find herself after becoming a mom and all of this great stuff. And I'm more than happy to do all that kind of stuff. But for me, I think we try and overcomplicate the idea of being a businessman and a business dad at the same time. Because I look at my kids, whether I spend a minute with them or I spend 3 hours with them, they're still loved. And they're still taken care of. And they still have that warmth of great people around them. And I think we're, as parents and dads, we fall into a world where we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. And so that's why I asked you, what is it for you? So for me, what I like to do, I like to train in the mornings. I like to come home and I like to be with my kids for half an hour. And then I take my big girl to school. And then I'll have probably a 2-hour window with my little girl and my partner. And then once 12 o'clock comes, then the house could be burning around that door, but don't knock on it unless it's open. Everything could be there could be World War III on the back end of that door, but once I'm here and that door is closed, then I'm working, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I'll come out then and, I'll have a coffee break. I'll walk for 5 minutes. I'll give my little girl a kiss. And she's pretty cool. You know what I mean? She's watching telly or she's out the back. She's playing with the garden or she's in the flower pot or, you know what I mean? And I think we overcomplicate it as well, that we have to give 45 minutes. No phones, no distractions. It's just me and I'm just watching you like a hawk. So I rather look for quality rather than quantity, in my opinion. And my partner, my in-laws will probably give out about that, but I don't know. I got 2 healthy, happy kids, so I'm probably not doing a whole lot wrong.
Mate, I think you're doing an amazing. I think you're doing an amazing.
I'm sure they'll tell me in 10 years' time when they're going off the railings and daddy's stiff arm doesn't land anymore, then we might have a different conversation. But yeah, so for me, I think it's about quality. So Saturday I'll just shut down. Everything shuts down. Over the last month, and I'll put up my hand. I have work Saturdays because we're just in this growth stage. But as things settle down now and all that kind of stuff, I'll shut down on Sunday or Saturdays again. And Saturday was always religiously my kids' days. So that's what we do.
Awesome. That's so good. Now I know that we're on a time limit as well, so this is my final question. I'm gonna try and wrap up 2 questions in one. So the final 2 questions we always have. This is my part of it, and I've grown up in the fitness industry for 19 years. So for me, health and fitness, and it's great that that was a big part of your life too. So health and fitness is super important for me, and we know about the dad bod, so forth, coming around for dads who get out of shape. So how do you take care of your health and fitness? And my second question, part of the question to this is, because it's caught my eye this whole conversation, explain the board behind you after the health and fitness question.
Okay, I was going to explain that first, but anyway, okay, cool. So it's a very, very good question. And it's something that they don't tell you. It's something that you have to kind of figure it out yourself. So I've come from obviously training every day, walking 15, 20,000 steps, to sitting down on my ass and actively having to separate that time to kind of really look after myself. And that's not just physically, that's mentally, that's emotionally, and that's also nutritionally, supplement wise, everything. So it was a real challenge, and I'm not going to lie and tell you it's not a challenge. It is most certainly a challenge. I used to do it effortlessly, but now I'm sitting in front of this laptop. I'm in this office. I'm not walking around every day. So it's something I actively have to do. And I've literally just hired one of my guys that got me in tremendous shape there a couple of years ago to get me in shape again. Because I truly believe in the better I feel about myself, the better I'm going to show up. Now, I'm not in bad nick, but I'm just not in the nick that I'm used to. So for me, once I see something, I'm like straight away, it's done, it's dusted. I don't hang about, I don't fluff it. If I don't feel happy, I'm on it straight away. And the guys are in, they're paid, the plan's in place, and we're just going for it. You know, so that's something. So I definitely feel that when you become a dad and you're a business owner and you have that entrepreneur spirit, one thing that will really, really benefit, because the other side of this, when we were fitness professionals, what did we have on it? What did you say to your clients, Brendo? What did you say? You got to look after yourself.
Yeah, just consistency.
Yeah, but now I'm on the other side of it, and I'm like, fucking hell, am I that in 9 coach now? Is that who I was?
Hey man, it's not that easy when you're not working out of a gym and you don't have access to stuff all the time, right?
So funny. I used to always say to my clients, you know, everybody has time. It's like you can wake up early, you can go to bed later, you can find time in the middle of the day, you can go for, you know, get up out of your desk and walk 10 minutes. It's easy. You can find the time. And then when you actually sit down, you're like, fuck, it's actually hard to find the time. You really need to structure it. It's crazy. Now, I know you were going to just explain the board behind you.
Yeah, easy. Structure is king. I think a large element of how people are successful is because they have a routine and a structure. I look at people that, you know, have done really, really big stuff. You know, they don't see weekends. I don't know what a weekend is. I just know Saturday is just the day that I spend with my kids. You know what I mean? So I don't get to the weekend and like, you know, like most people that do it in 9 to 5 and they just shut down. If anything, I speed up. Sunday I work all day. And some people will be like, well, that's not a life. But it's my life. It's got me to where I am today. So it's not a case of, again, comparing and contrasting. So you got to figure out what works for you. You know, and you got to figure out that's, you know, what you need to get to where you want to be. So that's really, really important. So this thing up here, this is the 4,000 dots. I'm going to be very honest with you and tell you all that once I got it and filled it all in, I was like, fucking hell, that's some pain in the hole doing that every week. So I'm actually down. I'm 29, so I need to fill in some of the dots on it and stuff like that. But what it is for me, I've placed that directly there because I get to see that. So you get to see that now and I get to see it. And what does it do for me? It just reaffirms with me that I'm working and I'm dedicated and I'm pushing and I'm driving. Most people, so that's there, but you can't see I got my kids here on this wall. So on both sides, I'm looking at the future, but I'm also looking at the past. It's very like, I don't know, you can superstitious, whatever it is. But I got my kids here, which are my future, and I got my past here, which is my past. And this is what I see every day on a daily basis. I'm in and out, up and down. It's a yo-yo.
I love that.
I see my kids, my partner, and I've got the past here. And even when I'm on Zoom, I look at where we are and what we've done and what's left. But I also look here to my family and why I do what I do and why I push as hard as I push. So you can't see that, but I can see them.
And so explain the 4,000 dots. So it's a book, because that's what I thought it was, and I was looking at it, and it's a board where it's essentially these 4,000 dots, and that's to represent 1 week of an average lifespan, right? Do you find it gives you a sense of urgency?
This one goes to 100, but it normally just goes to around 80. This one goes to 100. If I survive to 100, I'll be a happy man. But yeah, I'll be a happy man, but it normally goes to 80.
Bill, now I know we're coming to the end of our time now, and I want to obviously be really respectful of your time. And look, when we close these calls, we always ask, two questions. One is the health and fitness, because Brendo and I, we met in the fitness industry, and that's how we've really kind of stayed together and been such a powerhouse when it comes to fitness and promoting health for dads and things like that. But my final question is, this is all about you. So, what is one question no one has ever asked you around being a dad? It could be generating wealth, running a business, balancing time, that you secretly wish someone had asked you in the past?
That's a very, very good question. You've caught me on the hop. The biggest question that no one really asked me and no one really has ever never really questioned is, where do you want to go? What's the end state? What is a level of success? Let me ask you guys, because you asked me, what success do you, Ken? Where do you want, what is the end state for you?
Man, that's such a deep question. I don't think
He's just judoed you on this question. I'm just going to point that out.
Using my energy against myself, and
yes.
and that wraps up today's call. Thank you very much for joining. No, look, I think the level of success for me is bringing in a revenue that I am, for me, proud of, and that comes from a level of self-worth in terms of how much I believe that I am worthy to receive, but also to prove to could be my in-laws, could be my mother and father, could be my wife, to be at a certain level of success or in their eyes as well. So I want to be successful in other people's eyes. For me also specifically, it's supporting my family to do whatever they want to do and never having to worry about financial stress. And then obviously buying my time back so I can spend my time doing the things that I want to do, whether that is working, but I get the choice to do what I want to do. That's my level of success.
It's funny because everyone is of that opinion of, I want to buy back my time. But I actually like working. You know what I mean? I actually like this, and it's very good that you said that you get to choose what you want to do. And this is what I have more time, and without being a shithead about it, more money than 95% of the population. I'm sure you guys are the exact same. So that ultimately allows us to buy back freedom. But my freedom is used in a way that ultimately I want to use it. You know what I mean? And that's really, really important, For you, Brendo, what is it for you? What's success to you, buddy? No, I've judo chopped both of you.
That's right. So, yeah, I was waiting for that. So I don't have this end goal at the end of my life of what I consider success. Financially, for me, I actually don't need that much until the happiness curve doesn't excel. I know the kind of lifestyle that I want to live, and I had a direct number, which, to be honest, was very, very easy to achieve. But I found anything beyond that, it's just cushion, and that's all cool. So I would say that there's different chapters in my life, and right now, success is making Perth the fittest city in the world. It's just one thing, that's my goal. It might be 5 years and I get to the end of that and I achieve my goals, and there will be something and I'll be at a different stage in life, and that will be my one sole focus of what I do at that point in time. I think it's hard to nail something down at such a big scale because I didn't know I was going to build a dating app at one stage in my life. And when that became a thing and it got traction, that became my focus. Different chapters. I'm not the same person as I was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever that is. And I'm consistently going to be evolving. And there'll be something that tickles my pickle once this chapter's done and I'm ready for it. And I'm like, okay, that's my focus. And right now, the journey of getting to that is success in my life. But I'm lucky because I have the ability to choose what I want to go after as well.
Absolutely. It brings us then to school. You remember when you went to school and the career guidance girl, she said to you, or boy, or whatever it was in your school, they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, I don't know. I just want to grow up. You just keep evolving. I was in military for 5 years. I was a PT here in London for 5 years. I'm on this journey over the last maybe 18 months as a sales coach. Where that ends up, I don't know. I know where it's going to end up in property. And maybe I'll be a property tycoon for the next 10 years, and then after that, then I might build some sort of fucking water amusement park back in Ireland or something. I don't know. But
that you can use, really, 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah. You use it 6 days of the year. Well, yeah, no, it's important because we're always involving. It's really, really good.
Yeah, Bill, look, we absolutely appreciate your time so much. And I know you have to run. You do have to run and you do have to go. But look, if anyone wants to find you, what's the best places for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, for sure. I suppose the only people that would want to find me now are business owners and salespeople. Everyone else, if you're looking for fitness, give Brendo a good shout there, or Ken Boy. But if you're in sales or if you're struggling with objections, if you're struggling with not getting enough yeses, by all means, shoot me a friend request on Facebook, jump in my free Facebook group, the Objection Box community, or even on Instagram. I'm not massive on Instagram, to be quite honest. I like to just keep one channel and just go all in on it. So that's where I'm at. That's where you can find me. That's where you can obviously reach out and stuff like that. I'm more than happy to help as best I can.
That's
nice,
awesome,
amazing.
Bill. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that we put those links in the show notes. So Bill's Facebook group, and he's not massive on Instagram, but we will put that in the link as well. Bill, very insightful. Thank you so much for your time today.
Appreciate it.
Beautiful.
Behave yourselves.
Thank you. And you've been listening to The Dad Bub Show, and we'll catch you next time. That's it from us on this episode on The Dad Bub Show. If you want to find out a little bit more about us, head on over to www.dadbub.com. Until next time, see you next week.